Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. Today we're talking about something I'm very excited about and that I brought fucking props for. We're
Oh
talking about,
shit.
of course, Metroid. Now the reason we're talking about Metroid today is that there is a rumor we need to debunk right off the fucking goose, if you will.
Yes.
But of course, I'm so excited about Metroid that I didn't stop to take a moment to acknowledge my lovely co-host, the Rat King himself,
Oh,
Tucker Hazel.
Red King from Last of Us Part 2.
Here's what I've been thinking
I
about.
look the
I
same.
I like when Blessing Adeoye Jr. says, "Hey, I'm here with Christmas in November, Joey Noel."
Yes.
Or when Greg Miller's like, "Hey, I'm here with the new face of video games,
Yeah.
Blessing Adeoye Jr." Then he does do like the Yunya thing and makes me
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
We got to start doing those.
We got to come up with tags.
We need tags.
Yes, we need taglines.
You know what else we need? Metroid on
Metroid on
Switch.
Switch.
But here's what we're not getting, folks, because there's been a rumor percolating this morning that we need to debunk right off the bat.
Yes.
Nintendo is officially partnering to do some licensed Switch skins for Metroid and Zelda,
Yep.
and they're linking to them through the official Nintendo page. One of them is a Super Metroid styled skin set, and one of the screenshots is somebody playing what appears to be
Metroid
Metroid
Samus
Samus
Returns.
Returns
Yeah.
on Switch. But the problem is that this is a product that has existed for a couple of years, and this is a third-party mock-up,
Mm-hmm.
basically done only for the purposes of advertising the skin set. So it's pretty likely that this was just a gaffe that Nintendo linked to this product because they're collaborating here, but this isn't actually
Yeah.
coming,
Mm-hmm.
which is unfortunate because Metroid Samus Returns is a very solid game.
Yeah. It's a game I definitely I want to play at some point because it's
Yeah,
the only modern Metroid, quote
yeah,
unquote. But I just want to come right off the bat and say that regardless of the reality of Metroid coming to Switch in any point in the near future, I think that skin set looks fucking hideous. It's so distracting. There's too much going on. I know it's the original Metroid, just Super Metroid box art, but it just does not work on like with buttons in it and stuff. You can't tell what's going on. Screws over my brain.
yeah. I think it looks bad. I think a lot of those like third-party skin decals look bad. The only one I
Yeah.
ever bought is I bought like a Pokeball for my 3DS
Remember
front
the
cover.
Sonic Forces one that came with the game?
Couldn't forget it.
Yeah.
Couldn't forget it.
Think about that every
Um,
night as I'm drifting off to bed. Sonic Forces Joy-Con skin decal.
I would like to play Sonic Forces. That's a topic for a different time.
But Metroid.
Metroid is a topic for right now, and here's the deal. I am really hopeful that we're going to get a new Metroid game on Switch in 2021. And
Yes.
basically, everybody, the thesis for this fucking video is what is up with Metroid? When is it coming to Switch? What are we getting? Because even though this rumor is pretty clearly fake, pretty clearly one big miscommunication,
Yeah.
as these things tend to happen on Twitter, Metroid is still having an anniversary next year, and the series is still fucking percolating. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
remember, earlier this year, there was a rumor that there's a whole nested cluster of rumors. There's like
Yes.
Pikmin is coming to Switch. We're getting 3D All Stars. We're getting a new Paper Mario, and then the X Factor. We're getting a 2D
2D
Metroid.
Yeah.
Of course, that hasn't materialized yet.
Everything else has though.
Everything else has,
Yeah.
and I personally and a lot of other people were thinking that Treehouse Live announcement when fucking Bakugan got announced is actually going to be way forward taking on Metroid, akin to how Brace Yourself Games took Zelda for Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a fucking phenomenal partnership, giving a team that is so familiar with the modern Metroidvania,
Yeah.
Metroid proper.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't materialize. Nothing's materialized. My personal headcanon is that a Metroid game is coming, but it got delayed because of COVID.
Sure.
So we'll probably see something next year. Tucker, what do you think we're getting for the Metroid series?
What I'm personally what obviously the most exciting thing would be a brand new 2D Metroid
Yes.
from Nintendo. I think that something indie team taking on Metroid would be a really cool concept, but I don't think that would have the impact clearly because a new Metroid from Nintendo hasn't happened. A new 2D Metroid especially hasn't happened since what like Fusion or something? Like what's the last 2D Metroid that came out?
Fusion was the last new 2D
Yes,
Metroid.
okay, exactly. And that was we were tots. We were in fucking diapers when that came out.
I think it was 2004. So
Well, I was wearing
it's been a
pull-ups.
while.
I was wearing pull-ups at that point.
I was just shitting right in my underwear.
But aside from shit, Metroid is not shit. I actually enjoy Metroid. I played Super Metroid
Yes.
earlier this year. We didn't actually do a video on it, but hopefully we tackle some more Metroid games in the coming year to celebrate the anniversary. What I think is more likely is a 2D Metroid collection for Switch. I think that they are gonna push the collection stuff because they are for some reason hesitant to do a virtual console, and giving it that sort of, hey, it's Metroid's 35th anniversary. Here is hopefully more than just 3 games, but if they do ports of Fusion and what's the other GBA one?
Zero Mission.
Zero Mission, Super Metroid, and then maybe, but Samus Returns would have to be really reworked because it was a 3DS game. But I don't know. But like those games that are already one screen 2D Metroid games, I think getting a collection would probably be pretty likely.
I don't think we'll get a collection purely because I don't think there's enough to put into one. Because you got to remember that Metroid and Super Metroid are available through NES and SNES
True,
Online,
yeah,
respectively. And then you really have removing Samus Returns from the equation because that would require more work
yeah,
with the dual screens and everything. You have Zero Mission and you have Fusion. And Zero Mission, I mean, it's a full night and day remake of Metroid 1, but it is still Metroid 1 at its core.
hmm
So you'd be getting a remake and then one brand new Metroid. I think if anything, we might see them do more limited vault releases of individual games like we're getting with
sure,
fucking Fire Emblem Tree Trunk of Magic in the fucking Spatula of Calamity. We could see something like that for Fusion. But what I personally think is most likely is a double whammy in
Oh,
2021.
okay, all right. New 2D Metroid 3D Prime collection.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
3D
that's
Metroid Prime collection. 3D
Metroid Prime
is
correction.
All Stars. Yes.
Uh, I think this is likely for a couple reasons. The biggest reason for 2D Metroid, which is just what I'm more interested in personally, I've never really clicked with the Prime. If those games were to
Sure.
come out on Switch, I think that'd be the great way for me to try them again. I've tried them
Yes.
on the original hardware on GameCube. I've tried them in the
Virtual
Trilogy
console.
on my Wii U through
Mm,
Virtual Console
yeah.
because that fucking release was hard to get back at launch. I never actually picked it up on Wii proper. But I've tried the games many times at the point. But the point is, I've always loved 2D Metroid the most. And Mercury Steam has not released anything since Samus Returns.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Samus Returns was received very, very well.
hmm
So I would imagine that Nintendo was like, okay, you guys have proved yourself here. Let's see what you can do next. Now, there's 2 possibilities, and I think one is way more exciting than the other. The first possibility is that Mercury Steam essentially becomes Grezzo, but for
Yeah.
Metroid. And Grezzo, for people who aren't familiar, are the ones that remake Zelda games, pretty much.
hmm
Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening. So it's possible that Mercury Steam is working on a Metroid Fusion remake for Switch.
Sure.
That's one
Or even a
possibility.
Super Metroid remake.
A Super Metroid remake is also possible.
I think that's more likely because that's the iconic one. Metroid Fusion, obviously, people enjoy that game. I haven't played it, but I know it's a highly regarded game. But Super Metroid, especially for an anniversary, I think a 2D Super Metroid remake would really ruffle some feathers.
It would. I think it's also important to remember that A, it's available on Switch, and B, it's stood the test of time in a lot of ways. Metroid 2 hasn't. Fusion
Sure.
does, but Fusion is harder to come by. It's way more niche, doesn't
Okay.
have the popularity. So I think remaking Fusion would open it up to a new audience where the audience for Super Metroid basically is there. And I think you also open the risk of bastardizing Super Metroid in a way that
Hmm.
would be more mixed than taking Fusion and bring it to next level. Fusion is a
Okay.
fucking phenomenal game. I beat it for the first time this year and I loved it. But so I think they're either making a new Fusion remake or a proper brand new 2D Metroid, which I think
Yeah.
is obviously the more exciting option.
Of course. I mean, as someone who is only tangentially familiar with Metroid in a limited capacity, I would love to be on a high. We've never been around for the hype cycle of a 2D Metroid. Like we didn't even know what a video game was when we were 4 years old. So, I mean, at least I can't say that I remember being 4 years old and thinking about video games, but I would love to be a part of that. I think that a remake, honestly, in my mind, is more likely, just because I don't know. They've I don't know why they've staved off 2D Metroid for so long. It does well. It's very influential. I don't think there are any like true down games in that series, quote unquote. So it's very interesting that Nintendo just stopped giving a shit. But I think the 2D Metroid would be cool. It doesn't fit the trend. It's just it'd be so out of place.
I don't know if I'd say it's out of place. I mean, Metroid is still a very popular series, at least from a hardcore fan perspective. It has that draw. I mean, Nintendo's not fucking dumb. They know what happened with Metroid Prime 4 with that announcement and everything.
Yeah.
And then feel like they had to come out and be forthcoming about that delay and restructuring. They know that Metroid matters to a lot of people. I don't know why they've stayed away from 2D Metroid. It has not sold especially well.
Mm-hmm.
Super sold pretty well. Um, but Metroid has always been on the weaker end of their sales hierarchy, which
Sure.
is too bad. The Switch, of course, is a great opportunity to bring it back and revitalize it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think Nintendo has gotten not lazy, but they've gotten so complacent with recycling old games
Mm-hmm.
that I do think it's unfortunately very possible that we come back with another remake. But I just don't think that that's what anybody needs.
Sure.
Fusion holds up excellently. Playing it on the Wii Virtual Console, the pixel art looks gorgeous. You're playing Minish Cap, you know the GBA pixel art looks so
Oh
great
yeah.
today.
Oh yeah.
Uh, if that game was just re-released on the Switch's eShop for $10, people would think that game endures just as well now
Yeah,
because it's
especially
also
for that small price tag. And I
sure.
think that's what's important about releasing, especially a series like Metroid that didn't have those sales number and hasn't been majorly widespread popular for such a long time, especially because it hasn't been receiving new entries. That giving people a taste of the Metroid formula in a more bite-sized price, I think, is a very good idea. And I think that that's probably what they're trying to do with the Fire Emblem game is sort of just get more Fire Emblem content out there so that people are more experienced with the series as a whole, because it hasn't gotten popular until really Awakening, at least in the West. With Metroid, I think that is a really good idea, and also I think it would obviously wouldn't hamper their release schedule or development time for hopefully working on a new 2D Metroid or and putting development to other things.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think that a digital re-release of that probably unfortunately timed fucking by it before we arbitrarily decide to pull it off the eShop is probably likely.
Nintendo!
But no, I really do hope
Fucking Yoshi.
I have one of those somewhere.
Ah,
Hey,
fuck you,
look at that.
Nintendo. Just kidding. Love you, baby.
Fucking squeeze little blue Yoshi, yarn Yoshi. But no, I really think that we need to see Metroid have a reckoning and come in conversation with what its genre has become.
Sure.
I want a brand new 2D Metroid that we can hold up against Hollow Knight and hold up against Shantae and
Oh
hold
yeah.
up against all of these games and compare and watch Nintendo blow them out of the water because they can and they should.
Mm-hmm.
Especially having on Switch the fucking ambiance of a Metroid game, that atmosphere would be absolutely incredible. So I hope that happens. But I do think Mercury Steam's probably cooking up something, whether they're a fucking remake or new game. We'll see. But then you get the Prime Trilogy.
Yes. God
What
damn, that's been rumored for a while.
what do
Jesus
you think about
Christ.
that? What do you think is happening there?
I mean, I think it weirdly has to be real at some point, but I can't see it happening until closer to Metroid Prime 4 is ready to release. Because if they're gonna keep that trajectory, I think that they want to have the series come out as like in a run rather than if Prime Trilogy comes out next year, fucking Metroid Prime 4 can be 3 years down the road still. Which is what makes me hesitant to say that even for the 25th anniversary that a collection like that would be coming out.
Well, I don't necessarily think that that's the best way to move forward because I think you risk giving people here's three Prime games that are absolutely excellent, and then here's a fourth. If you release those too close together, I think you run the risk of them starting to run interference against each other. And especially if this game is in development hell, you have to think about the Mass Effect corollary. Andromeda came out, and people are like, "Where is the fucking trilogy on new consoles?" I really think that part of, and Colin Moriarty, shout out to fucking God King himself, Colin Moriarty, the Pride of Long Island, has said quite often, they probably didn't release that because they knew that those first three games are better than Andromeda. So they spaced them out. I think that
Reversely.
reversely, but the point is, EA and BioWare could have and should have done that collection way earlier.
Sure.
But there's something to be said for avoiding comparison. There's something to be said for not
Oh
cannibalizing.
God.
Bless you. There's something to be said for not cannibalizing the sales potential of the new game. Something
Sure.
to be said for focusing an audience's attention on becoming fans, building up that fan base, and then releasing that game later once people understand why this series matters so much. And then slash the shit out of the price for that. Metroid. Let's say this launches next year. Metroid Prime 4 launches in fucking 2077.
Mm-hmm.
In spring 2077, cut the price of the Prime trilogy to $20 to
Cut it by
catch
$5
people
maybe.
again. Yeah, fucking give them $250 off the top. Don't spend it all in one place. Fucking dumb Nintendo not cutting the price of anything. But I do think that this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that it
Existed on
doesn't.
Wii.
Right. Well, there's a lot to consider. But the biggest thing is it just makes sense, and this needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I've written about this for Nintendo, and Arlo talks about this quite often. You need to use this legacy content to build up fans for the new entry.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo just saw the success of the 3D All Stars collection.
Yeah.
Right. So they understand that collections have power just to generate sales on their own, but they also build new fans. Mario doesn't need to build new fans,
No,
right?
not
But
particularly.
Metroid does. So I think releasing the collection is a salient business decision in the short term, and in the long term, it's going to introduce people to the series in a meaningful way.
Me too. I mean, I have not played any of the Prime games. I've always looked at them in the cases at like half price book where I'm like, okay, I could buy Metroid Prime right now and play it, but I always just something gets in the way.
It's so shiny.
Look at that.
It's lenticular. Yes, and see, that's you are the perfect person to be converted to be a Metroid fan.
Yeah.
And I really think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you played Prime Trilogy and enjoyed those games, you'd be more likely to want to hop into Prime 4 day one.
Well, that's true
Context.
but I would have, if it had come out this year, I would have bought it without playing the original ones as well, just because it's a hype game and I want to get on that next big Nintendo thing because we haven't really had that big Nintendo game in a while. Like the
Right.
Metroid Prime 4 announcement was one of the most memorable announcements that Nintendo has had, and obviously that got shifted around because it got restarted development wise. But I'm excited for that game regardless. I hope that there's a trilogy because I do want to play those games before the fourth one comes out. But I think either way, I'll end up playing it.
Yeah, and I think the only problem with the collection that I see is how do you control it? Because it's important to remember that the Metroid games on GameCube are not twin stick. You don't aim with the right stick.
Mm-hmm.
It's a one stick lock on. It's an archaic control system. It's a product of its time. It's actually a product before its time, really. But that's how those games control. And then you get gyro on Wii, but gyro on Switch is fucking broken.
Yeah.
If you've played any gyro games, there's without a sensor bar, it doesn't have anything to calibrate against. It drifts constantly. It's not fun to use or play with. So it would require Nintendo to go in and probably add right stick aim support because I don't think you can release Metroid Prime as a single stick shooter in 2021.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The market is just not going to respond to that. I mean, the market, they knew it wasn't going to respond to inverting Y in Sunshine, so they fixed that. So they'll come up with some kind of control workaround. But the other question then is how much further do you go? Do you think that we get just up-reses? Do you think we get a proper remaster? What do you think would happen?
I mean, I think that the up-res route like they did with 3D All Stars is more likely, especially considering what you just said. I don't think that they, or do think that they go in and tweak the controls a little bit more to modernize them to maybe make them consistent with what they know the development of Metroid Prime 4 is going to be like, so that the series is consistent in that way for the new players coming in. And even then, I think that people who were fans of this series back from the GameCube and the Wii will understand if they update the controls and modernize them a bit. I don't necessarily think that will be as big of an issue as inverting the Sunshine controls was.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they just give different control options, I think that solves the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The pipe dream is that you put 1, 2, and 3 into the engine of that 4 is running on. That would
Interesting.
obviously not happen. Especially Nintendo's gotten they're comfortable skating by with the bare minimum recently.
Hmm.
So I don't see that changing. I think that honestly, I think they'll just be ports.
Yeah.
Uh, because if you run those games through Dolphin, they look fucking gorgeous. People have played Metroid Prime 1 in VR through Dolphin. Like
Oh wow.
you can do a lot with that code that exists. And especially considering that there are emulators for GameCube and Wii as part of 3D All-Stars, it just makes sense to repurpose
Oh
that
yeah.
tech
Hmm.
for this. So I think that this would be a weird collection because it wouldn't just be taking the trilogy and bumping the trilogy over. It would probably be going back into like the GameCube ISOs for those first two games and fucking dealing with corruption, however you deal with corruption. Or maybe you don't even bring corruption over. It's complicated. I don't know exactly what they do. But I do think that it will come, and I think it'll be low effort. That's my
Yeah.
prediction for the
Hmm.
Prime trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we thought about for 3D All Stars, and hey, we were right.
And I mean, we bought it.
Yeah, that's true. We both played all the games.
Yeah, and I'll buy anything Metroid fucking day zero. I'll pre-order it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, because I've never bought a Metroid game.
um, the last thing I think we should touch on at least is just Metroid Prime 4, which is not coming in
No,
2021.
no, it's not.
What what do you
I think we
think?
get a trailer though. I think we get an atmospheric trailer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely because it's been long enough that they have to at least have something.
Yes.
When do you think the game is coming? What do you think is going on?
Oh God, it's hard for me to remember the timeline for that game because
Do you want a quick
27,
refresher?
2017 teaser trailer announcement, right?
Yes.
What, early 2018 restart development, or was it early 2019? It was one of the other. It was one of the two.
I believe it is early 2019.
Okay.
Let me give
Yes,
you a
I think
fucking
that sounds. I think that sounds
on
right.
the ground reporting.
Okay. But the thing
Metroid.
is with that is, I mean, I remember the only thing I remember about that game, I mean, obviously there isn't anything we really know about it, and the fact that it restarted was everyone saying every time a new Jesus Christ, every time a new anything Nintendo or game related happened, people are like, all right, Nintendo's going to show Metroid Prime 4. Nintendo's going to show Metroid Prime 4. Where's Metroid Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 at the Game Awards? Why are they only showing Bravely Default 2? What the fuck? But I mean, there's clearly a reason, and I do think that hopefully restarting development gives it that polish that, and obviously the retro feel that the series deserves, especially bringing it together to a new generation. I almost don't know if there's a way that this game stands up to the magnanimous expectations that it's been given, but we'll see. I mean, it's certainly possible.
So yes, unless Arlo posted his video about the development restarting in a year late, it did restart in January of 2019.
Okay.
Um, and I think you're right about that expectations point. This game being brought to Retro gives me no faith because
Mm,
Retro is not the same team that
yes.
Retro was in the early
Hmm.
2000s. A and B, half of Retro's lineage is
Austin
getting games.
represent.
Austin represent kind of half of their games get canceled. Half of the history of Metroid is having of Retro, sorry, is having their games get canceled. Boom, 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 cancellations. Metroid Prime, 3 Metroid Prime games, 2 Donkey Kong games. God fucking knows what happened after that. Some people say that Star Fox Grand Prix was a false flag operation by Nintendo. Some
Guys,
people,
triple brain infinity fuck you move.
I don't think that's true. Personally, Jeff Grubb deleted his reporting on that. It
Okay.
seems like that wasn't true. But the point is, Retro can't finish a game clearly, and especially with the team as it is now, they're pulling interesting talent from across the industry. They got
Yeah.
Call of Duty people, they got Halo people, they got God of War people, they got fucking all of these
Hmm.
interesting team members. But I don't know what that means. There's something to be said for trying to stick people together and it not actually meshing.
Possibly. Yeah.
That's not great for studio culture, especially if you're if you're telecommuting right now. That's not great for
Yeah.
meeting people and building that camaraderie you need. I don't have much faith in Metroid Prime 4 at all, actually.
Okay. I'll quote you on that.
I hope it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So do I.
And hopefully Nintendo is guiding that a little bit. They're getting their people in there if need be. Hopefully, what's left of retro is enough to make this happen. Hopefully, this new talent integrates well. I just almost see like a Halo Infinite thing happening here, you
Yeah, it's
know.
possible.
Um, but I hope I'm wrong,
Yeah.
and I hope that this game launches before the next Nintendo system. But my honest to goodness prediction is that this will be the Switch song, Swan Song cross-gen released with the next system.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
That
that's
is,
certainly possible. I mean, people are predicting that this is not coming out for years. And obviously, the only thing counteracting that, I think, is the fact that Nintendo wants the Switch to have as long of a life cycle as it can. And the possibility of Switch Pro coming out will push that even farther. So, depending on how long the Switch life cycle is, that could be true or not true.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm saying it's not coming for a long time. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Um, but beyond that, I just want Nintendo to recognize Metroid. The most soul crushing thing that could happen next year is that they spend the entire year paying attention to Zelda and do nothing for Metroid.
Yeah.
That's worst case
I mean, hey,
scenario.
they didn't spend almost any of the year paying attention to Mario. They started that shit like a month before the anniversary. It makes me worried for the anniversary celebrations next year because if they couldn't do a full year celebration for fucking Mario, what is it? Next year is is Pokemon, Metroid, and Zelda? Jesus Christ.
It's important to remember, of course, that COVID obviously fucked up their plans because um, they had integration with the Olympics in Japan for Mario. They had Super
Hmm.
Nintendo World opening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was data that came out like in like fucking small print font for Super Mario Maker 2 competitions and stuff such that these were supposed to run way earlier in the year.
Sure.
Clearly, Nintendo did have plans that got completely scrambled. Hopefully, the global situation is different next year, so they can spend 12 months paying attention to Zelda and not paying attention to Metroid, and that can just be sad.
Well, there is the point that now we are, even if in my opinion it's unlikely that the global pandemic finishes next year. I
Yeah,
I think that we're used to being in this now, and Nintendo
sure.
is used to being in it. And those plans probably started before the pandemic, but have been had enough time to repercolate and come out in a COVID situation that I think that it's possible that they do a better job marketing the
Yeah,
the anniversary of all of those series across the course of the year. Because for me, when it's an anniversary like that, I want it to be something big. I want it to be like they did with not even like the year of Luigi kind of, but like even with Pokemon 20th anniversary where they had legendaries dropping each month, they had new games, they had the orchestra, they had all this stuff, and they
yeah.
were really pushing that. I hope that if for hopefully all of these series they get the love and care that they deserve, and hopefully at least for Metroid the refresh that they deserve with a modern Nintendo audience that has been glommed onto the Switch from before they even really weren't Nintendo fans before. And Metroid could get the boost it deserves next year, but we'll have to see because I do think that Pokemon and Zelda are likely going to overshadow it.
Yeah, you're right. The last point I have is that I just hope that that we get, if we get Prime Trilogy, great. If we get Fusion on Switch or something digitally, great. But I want new content. I
Yeah,
want a new Metroid game, and I want Zelda's anniversary to celebrate with a new Zelda game. Maybe Breath of the Wild 2, who knows? But I
yeah,
want these games to not this series to not just get collections of games,
yeah,
because this is a discussion for another time. But I'm getting really, really fed up with Nintendo spending so much time repurposing old content.
hmm,
I get why it's a little bit more of a necessity now, but you even look back in 2019, it was Link's Awakening again. And you look back in 2018, you've got fucking Let's Go, and it's nostalgia is powerful and it's interesting, but I'm ready to look forward.
hmm.
Pulling old content back up to the forefront is important, but it shouldn't be your titular focus. And if an anniversary goes the way of Mario and it's a bunch of piddly little stuff, and then a collection of games I've played already,
Yeah.
I just want the series to move forward. The best Nintendo's ever done celebrating anniversary, Skyward Sword in 2011. Fucking
Okay.
surround it with bonus content, then cap it off with a brand new game with a fucking gold Wii remote. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
New game,
Solid gold Joy-Con. Get
solid
on it, Nintendo.
gold Joy-Con. I only want them if they drift.
And on that note, thank you for watching our Metroid future prediction video, debunk video. Who knows what's going on with Metroid? I don't even think Nintendo knows, but hopefully we will know in the coming 12-month cycle at some point in there.
Who knows?
But thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoy us talking about Metroid. We have other videos talking about other dumb shit. We have a Pokemon future video. That's probably, hopefully we put that up soon.
That, if you remember, is on you to make a thumbnail post.
Shit. Okay, well, that'll come out soon. We've got a video discussing what we think the future of the Pokemon series will be. And we've got plenty of other videos. Check those out if you want to. And please subscribe. I think we hit 150 yesterday, but I checked the thing this morning and it was back down to 149. So
yes,
we're fluctuating around there, but we want to grow. We want to make more content for you guys. We've got plans coming up. Next gen is upon us, and get excited for video games.
Video games are exciting.
Bye.
Color. Let me go get the right color light bulb. UPS.
Oh God.